We all think of renewable energy as our silver bullet for climate change, right? But what if I told you that our best weapon is actually getting taken out by the very enemy it's supposed to defeat? It's a huge, fascinating paradox, and we really need to get our heads around it.
So it really boils down to this, doesn't it? Can our green energy tech actually survive the effects of climate change? I mean, think about it. We're frantically building all this new infrastructure on a planet that's, well, it's getting angrier by the day. And that creates this bizarre and frankly pretty worrying situation.
Okay, so let me put it plainly. The cure for climate change is being threatened by the disease itself. The very systems we're counting on to protect us from crazy weather are getting knocked out by that exact same crazy weather. It sounds nuts, I know. So let's dig into how this is even possible. And we're going to start with the most obvious one, solar.
All right, solar power. Seems straightforward, yeah? More sun, more heat, more power. That's the idea. But, well, it's not quite that simple. The reality is actually way more complicated. Now look, that basic idea that more sun equals more power isn't totally wrong. Of course, sunlight is the fuel. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. And as the world keeps getting hotter, this catch is becoming a massive problem. So here's the twist. Solar panels absolutely love sunlight, but they hate being hot. When we see these insane heat waves, pushing past 40 degrees Celsius in places like Europe, the solar panels themselves actually start to perform worse. They get less efficient. Get this, when a panel's surface gets up to around 65 degrees Celsius, which, by the way, happens super easily on a really scorching day, its power output can plummet by almost 20%. So the hotter it gets, the less power you get. It's a total paradox, right? Okay, so solar power has a serious heat problem. You'd think wind power would be easier, right? More wind, more power. Easy. But nope. The reality with wind is, well, it's surprisingly tricky.
Check out this quote. It's a perfect way to think about it. It creates rush hour traffic on the grid. Basically, on super windy days, these giant turbines can generate so much power that our old-school grids just can't take it. It's literally like trying to funnel a whole river through a tiny garden hose. All that energy is being made, but it has nowhere to go. It can't get to you and me.
And this gridlock, this traffic jam, it comes with a shocking price tag. Last year alone, Britain paid out almost 1.8 billion euros. For what? To pay wind farms to actually shut down their turbines. This is a thing called curtailment. The grid was so overwhelmed, they literally had to pay to waste perfectly good, clean energy. Just think about that for a second. But wait, it gets even weirder. It's not just about having too much power for the grid. What happens when the wind gets insanely strong, like in a major storm? The turbines have to shut down completely. They basically go into survivability mode to keep from being torn to pieces. And this isn't just some theory, it actually happens. During Storm Cian, not too long ago, these huge, powerful offshore wind farms in the UK and France, they just went dark, shut down. So at the exact moment you'd think would be perfect for wind power, they were making zero electricity. And guess what had to pick up the slack? Yep, good old fossil fuels.
So to recap, solar doesn't like it too hot, and wind has this whole Goldilocks thing going on. It can't be too strong or the grid can't handle it. But what about hydro? Hydropower. A giant dam full of water, that seems about as stable and reliable as it gets, right?
I mean, look at a place like Norway. They call it Europe's biggest battery for a reason. It's got thousands of these hydropower dams, basically acting as a giant energy savings account for the whole continent. It's supposed to be the rock, the dependable part of the whole green energy system. But what happens when that battery starts to die? Because that's the scary question we're facing now. Climate change is messing with the very water cycles that this battery depends on, and suddenly its future doesn't look so certain anymore.
Because of a warm, dry winter, Norway's snow reserves, that's basically the frozen water that's supposed to melt and fill up the dams later, hit a 20-year low. This created a massive energy shortfall. We're talking 25 terawatt hours. To put that in perspective, that's enough juice to power 2.5 million homes for a whole year. And it's just gone. And the issue isn't just about how much water there is. It's about how that water is showing up. We're getting a lot less of that nice, stable snowpack, which is like a slow-release battery for the dams. Instead, what are we getting? These insane downpours, heavy rains, and flash floods that are totally unpredictable. And often, the system just can't capture all that water in time.
Okay, so we've looked at solar, we've looked at wind, we've looked at hydro, and each one has its own weird paradox. But there is one single massive problem, a systemic failure that ties all of this together and makes everything worse.
And here it is. The single biggest weakness connecting them all is our outdated and completely insufficient energy grid. I mean, you gotta understand, our grid was built for a totally different world. A world with a few giant centralized power plants. It was never, ever designed for this new reality of thousands of solar farms and wind turbines scattered all over the place, all dealing with weather you just can't predict.
And the scale of this grid problem is it's huge. Right now, across Europe, there are more than 120 gigawatts worth of green energy projects that are basically on hold. They're at risk. And it's not because the solar panels or the turbines aren't ready to go. It's because there's literally nowhere to plug them in.
The bottleneck couldn't be clearer. A report from the think tank Ember found something pretty shocking. 1 out of every 2 grid operators in Europe just doesn't have the capacity for the green energy projects that are already planned. Think about that. It's like we're building all these amazing factories, but we completely forgot to build any roads to get the products out.
So what this all really means is that our energy future isn't just about what we build, but how it endures. The challenge isn't just switching to green energy. No, it's about building a whole green energy system that's tough enough to actually survive on the very planet it's supposed to be saving. A system that can handle the extreme heat, the monster storms, the crazy droughts that are becoming, well, the new normal. So the real question is, can we adapt faster than our climate changes?